Well, first of all, thank you very much for this incredible turnout. I would have wished to have this kind of a turnout when I did last Action Hero. But anyway, I want to thank, first of all, my co-chairs, Secretary Schultz and Warren Buffett, for not only being the co-chairs, but also for helping me assemble this great team of the best and the brightest economic leaders and business leaders of California. We just finished the meeting. When I came to California 35 years ago, this was a place of great dreams. This state said to the people everywhere, come here, work hard, play by the rules, and your dreams can come true. What has happened to California? What has happened to that feeling? What has happened to the optimism that this state once represented to the world? Now, I believe that we all, in my heart, that we can bring that optimism back. The people of this state are working hard. They're raising their families and they're paying their taxes. Our businesses are the most innovative on the face of this earth. We still have all the elements that made us great and prosperous. We have everything we need except leadership. In simple terms, this is the financial situation that we face. It's not that the people of California have been undertaxed. It is that the politicians have overspent. Sacramento has overspent, overtaxed, and overregulated our businesses. Our elected officials have failed the people. They have overburdened our businesses, which are downsizing and leaving, and the jobs are leaving with them. We want those jobs that are going to Nevada and Arizona and Texas and elsewhere to come back. We want those jobs back. I have just met with my Economic Recovery Council to address the economic environment of California. California's economy is critical to the national economy. We must fix California's economic environment not only for ourselves, but for the rest of the nation. Businesses cannot continue to suffer under skyrocketing workers' compensation costs. The day I'm sworn in, I will take action. I will call a special session of the legislature to enact reforms to correct a system that imposes unaffordable costs on our employers, while denying decent benefits to our people that are injured. I will not sign a budget without workers' compensation reform. Our working men and women deserve better. And our economic recovery demands and depends on reform. The Economic Recovery Council and I discussed many other substantive issues that will be addressed in my administration. Litigation reform, regulatory reform, and the unemployment insurance fund crisis. And without needed energy reform, California will continue to suffer the highest commercial energy costs in the nation. These critical issues must be addressed to ensure the economic recovery that California so desperately needs. Needless to say, the elephant in the room when it comes to California's economy is the state's irresponsible operating deficit and the massive debt that this governor has allowed California to incur. You know, Maria and I, we teach our kids the basic principles. We teach them, don't spend more money than you have. That's what I teach my 6-year-old. And I promise you, that is what I will teach Sacramento. We must have a constitutional spending cap. We must never again permit Sacramento to mortgage our children's future by unconstitutional deficit spending. We must immediately attack the operating deficit head on. Now, does this mean that we are going to make cuts? Yes. Does this mean education is on the table? No. Does this mean I'm willing to raise taxes? No. Additional taxes are the last burden that we need to put on the backs of the citizens and businesses of California. One message that became loud and clear at this last meeting we just had was that no one, not even the economic and academic leaders, could figure out and make heads or tails of the state's budget. We don't know what is being spent, and we don't know where. One thing I've learned in business, and that is that you can't make sound decisions based on faulty information. Upon becoming governor, I would immediately appoint an outside auditing group, free of political influence, to examine the books and find out how bad the situation really is. This will be a 60-day review that will result in immediate steps to address the operating deficit. The second part of the problem is that the next governor will inherit what experts think is between $12 and $20 billion. This is a debt separate and apart from the operating deficit. California will not be an attractive place to do business. It will not be attractive to business in the financial community as long as our credit rating is the worst in the nation. I have asked the Hoover Institute's John Cogan, a member of my council, to lead the working group charged with restructuring this inherited debt. Now, before the carping begins about the need for the 25-point plan on each one of those items, let me make one thing clear, that these problems that I just mentioned were not created in 2 weeks, nor will we be able to solve those problems in 2 weeks. And anybody that is out there and telling the people of California otherwise are just a typical politician. The way I work is to get as many people at the table as possible, listen to their opinions, think about their ideas, and then I make the decision. And let me tell you something. One thing that the citizens of California can count on is that I will take action. Thank you very much for listening. And I would like now to have my two co-chairs make some comments. Again, thank you very much for being the co-chair. Warren, if you please make some comments before we answer some questions. Thank you very much.
I first became aware of just how bad the fiscal situation was in California and how important it was for leadership that would attack the problem early in June. At that time, California needed to sell $11 billion in warrants. Those are securities that come due in less than a year, or approximately a year. And California found out that its credit card was no longer acceptable in the investment world. They presented it, and it was handed back to them, and they were told, the state was told, get somebody to guarantee that you'll have access to the credit markets in the next year. So they got a syndicate of 7 investment banks led by Merrill Lynch, and $84 million was paid not to borrow money, but simply to assure investors that someone somewhere would lend money to California in the next 12 months. If they don't, Merrill Lynch and their group will get a very, very hefty fee for providing the money. So when a state gets to the position where a syndicate of investment banks are regarded as a better credit than what I believe is the richest and most important state in the union, a change is needed. And that change is going to require someone determined who is credible to the investment world to present a plan for a balanced budget. And as Arnold said, this wasn't created in a couple of weeks, and it doesn't get solved in a couple of weeks. But within the next year, because if June comes around of next year and that problem has not been addressed, it won't be solved for $84 million, and it won't be solved for $184 million. Credit is like oxygen. You know, when you have it, you don't even notice it. And when you don't have it, it's the only thing you're thinking about. And we got very close to that point in California in June. And without the problem being addressed, it'll be around here in spades next June. There are 35 million plus Californians counting on leadership. They're going to have to feed their families tomorrow and next week and next month and next year. And they're going to feed them only one way, and that's if they have jobs. And they're only going to have jobs in one way also, and that's if employers expand their businesses and come to California just like they did in the past years. This state has provided millions and millions and millions of jobs over the years. But particularly in the recent couple of years, the trend has gone the other way, and that has to be reversed because 35 million people aren't going to eat otherwise, and they're going to need jobs. And after looking at the situation, I felt only new leadership would get that job done and take care of those 35 million people, and that's why I'm out here with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Warren. Please, Secretary Schultz.
There's a new four-letter word that we're going to pay a lot of attention to, and Warren just talked about it, jobs. That's going to get a lot of emphasis. I found this morning's meeting with Arnold Schwarzenegger to be a very enlightening one. And I learned three things. Number one, I saw this man sit with a diverse group, varying opinions, and they told him what they thought, and he interacted with them. He listened in an active way. Some people just sit and you don't know whether they're listening or not. Other people engage with the person who's talking, so you know they're listening. So I saw him do that. And then I'm sitting next to him, I'm watching him. I've learned a little bit about people. And I see he's making his mind up himself. He'll listen, but then he'll decide. And then as I've listened to what the decisions are and the things he's emphasized, including the things he talked about just now, I like what I hear those decisions as being. So I'm delighted to be here in supporting Arnold Schwarzenegger. I live in California. I intend to stay here. I love it. My state is in deep trouble, and we need a leader who can take us out of it and make our golden state golden again.
Thank you very much. Thank you. By the way, I just want to say that it is not coincidental that Secretary Schultz is on my right and Warren Buffett is on my left. So I just want to make sure that you know where the positioning comes from.
But as far as they're concerned, he's on your right.
Yeah, that's okay as far as they're concerned, yes. They know now.
Is this an absolutely unalterable position, or are there some situations which would require, just to put the state in the fiscal responsible position, that you might, in extreme circumstances, have to raise some taxes or whatever you want to call it, revenue enhancers, whatever?
Well, again, I think that I'm very, very much a believer that our people here in this state have not been undertaxed, that the government has overspent. Having said that, it is clear that we can't ever say never, because we can have, next year an earthquake, we can have a natural disaster, we could have a terrorist attack or something like that, so we can never say never, no. But I am in principle against taxing because I feel that the people of California have been punished enough. From the time they get up in the morning and flush the toilet, they're taxed. Then they go and get a coffee, they're taxed. They get into their car, they're taxed. They go to the gas station, they're taxed. They go for lunch, they're taxed. And this goes on all day long. Tax, 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 tax. So even when they go to bed, you can really go into bed in fear that you maybe get taxed while you're sleeping. There's a sleeping tax. This is crazy. This is what this state does, and this is why so many businesses have left. So I believe very strongly, and this is why we had this economic summit, is to bring back a business environment and bring back revenues. The natural ways through businesses, the way it was, like I said, when I came here in 1968. You know, when I was here, businesses wanted to come to California from all over the world. I remember when I went to Austria or to Italy or to Japan with my bodybuilding tours, and so people were saying, oh, I cannot wait to get to California. This is the greatest place in the world. Now when I go over there, when I just had my last promotion tour, people said, I'm going to stay away from California. I don't want to do business in California right now because they cannot figure out what's going on. They are in trouble. They have the worst credit rating. They have the worst money management. They have one of the worst educational systems. And on and on and on. They just went through and they are very much aware because this is on the front page of their magazines and newspapers. Because remember, California is not just another little state. It's not just another little place that you can find on a map. It's a very important, it's always considered the greatest state of the greatest nation. And that's why everyone came here, and that's why so many immigrants came here.
Mr. Schwarzenegger, when you talk about cuts, you know, as any politician knows, it's easy to talk about cuts. It's very hard sometimes to do them. Have you and have the council identified some specific areas that you have in mind that you think can be cut? And to go back to the tax issue for a moment as well.
So it's two questions. Okay, let me answer first the first. I mean, because, first of all, I have to correct you. In all due respect, it's not easy to make cuts. Because, you know, no, but it's also not easy even to talk about it. It's not easy because you have to look at the whole thing carefully. But the thing that we have to realize is that this budget is, as I said in my speech, so crazy that even though I have met for the last 14 days the top economic leaders and people that deal with that from the academic community that deal with this, come to me and they say, what is really the current operating deficit? And they will come up with numbers like $5 billion. The next meeting I have, they say $6 billion. The next meeting I have is they say $9 billion. The next meeting I have is 7.8 exactly. Those are the, so how can you make really good decisions? What you have to do is, and what I have to do when I go into office is have an audit. Like I said, a 60-day audit with an independent company to really look at that. I mean, this is one of the things in our economic conference just now that came through as a matter of fact, I think David Murdoch was the one that mentioned this. The first thing he does when he buys a business is to look at the line item and do the accounting, to check out what is going on so we can make the right decisions. And that is something that we can't make right now. I cannot make that right now because we don't really know the answers. So it is, one thing we know is we don't want to tax more, and that in every business, when you really audit and when you get into it and you look for efficiency, you find places where you can cut, even though you're not laying off anyone or doing anything. But that's what we have to do, is we look at every department carefully and then see where we can make those cuts.
Now, didn't that tax issue, didn't Mr. Buffett, who is your mentor, you described him as, and a co-chair, didn't he make some sense when he talked to the Wall Street Journal about the unfairness of Proposition 13, when he pointed out that his own property, which is valued more in Laguna Beach, I think it is taxed less than his property, which is worth less, is in Nebraska? Didn't that make sense?
Well, first of all, I told Warren, if he mentions Prop 13 one more time, he has to do 500 sit-ups. So he's not going to talk about that ever again, I can guarantee you. Because we both grew up with weightlifting, so he knows what that is like. So, but anyway, to answer that question. Second of all, let me just say that Prop 13 is something that I have endorsed, that I'm a strong believer in, and that I was there 2 months ago at the 25-year anniversary, and I was the keynote speaker. And the reason for this is because I've seen firsthand, when that proposition has passed, what effect and what impact it had. I remember that old lady in Venice, where I used to train in Gold's Gym. When I came out of there, and she came out of her house, she had tears in her eyes. And I said, well, what's the matter? And she said, Proposition 13 has just passed. She says, I don't have to sell my home. She says, I've been living here for 20 years. My husband died 10 years ago. She says, I could not afford the property taxes anymore. I would have to move away and sell the house. So it is like it was hurting the wrong people. It was the wrong idea. It's overtaxing. So therefore, I'm a big supporter of Proposition 13. And to answer that other question that you had is, it is true that some people pay low property taxes because they've been in that house for 20 years. But as soon as you sell that house, There's a whole other evaluation of the property. What is the value? And then it's based on that new value. So that's why you have situations sometimes where someone lives in a house and pays maybe just $1,000 property tax, and the guy next door has the same kind of house and pays then $10,000. So I mean, it is always, as soon as you sell, if it is commercial real estate or if it is residential real estate, as soon as you sell your property, it gets reevaluated, and there's new estimates, and then this is what you pay on. Okay? Yes, right here. Excuse me, just everyone get the turn, please.
Thank you very much. How will you, Mr. Schwarzenegger, how will you try to get the state legislature to work and to cooperate with you when you're in Sacramento?
Well, I think that it's a very good question. People are always concerned. They said, you know, this is there's a lot of Democrats up there. My answer is I live with the Democrats for the last 17 years. I'm trained to deal with Democrats, okay? My wife, I mean, and I, we get along really fine, and we make great decisions together, and it is good to have different point of views. I don't think that I would have a problem with them. Remember one thing, that Proposition 49, the After School Education and Safety Act that passed last year, I would not have been successful with that proposition, would have not been for the Democrats. It was Republicans and Democrats came together because I went to them and I said, I need your help. This education, after-school programs, helping children is not a political issue. It is a people's issue. It is a family issue. It is helping the mothers that want to go to work and not worry about where their children are at 3 o'clock. You know something? They all got it. They endorsed it. They had me up there in Sacramento speaking to all the Democrats and the Republicans. No one was fighting me, and it passed by 57%. So that's what I want to do. This is why I had this meeting here today. You would see there were some of them were Democrats, some of them were Republicans. Some of them, they have different ideologies and different philosophies. They came from different backgrounds, from the academic world and from the business world. But we had one common cause and one common goal. And that is to solve the problem that we have in California and bring businesses back to California and create a business environment in California that businesses not only want to come back, but that businesses want to stay here. So we have to get rid of this hostile environment towards businesses, because we cannot afford to have businesses continue moving out of the state and take workers' jobs with them. That's what we want to stop. That's what this meeting was. But it was Democrats and Republicans alike. We all share the same interests. We all want to make this a great state. It doesn't matter what the party line is. Yes, excuse me. Even though I play a machine in a movie, but I'm not a machine. So let me just answer one question at a time. Thank you.
California Governor Greg Davis has instituted 2 programs greatly supported by the unions: paid family leave and the 8-hour workday. Do you see these as anti-business or hostile to the business environment? Would you work to rescind these as governor?
No, I think that we have to look at those things. You know, I'm all for that people can leave and then, take care of the family members and all those kind of things. But I mean, it's very important that we don't continue going down that road, because it is very easy for all of us, and I'm absolutely convinced that everyone in here will agree that it isn't, because you talked earlier about it's easy to cut. It's also as easy to promise people programs. It's as easy to go and say, we're going to give you more on this, more on that. Yeah, of course I want to give away anything and everything, but can we afford it? We always have to come back to one thing, and that is, can we afford it? As I said, I teach my kids, don't spend more than you have. We have to do the same with Sacramento. It doesn't make any sense. Of course we want to help everyone. We want to reach out to everyone, but can we afford it, and do we therefore destroy our business environment in California and have everyone move away? Sometimes, as a surgeon will say, you have to cut to save the patient. And this is what this situation is here. So this is the bottom line. So we have to look at everything before we promise anything to anyone right now. I think stop with the spending. And then let's analyze the whole thing and see what the problems really are and where can we cut. I mean, this is the thing. And let me tell you something also. It's very important for you to know that it's not that much of an issue, a technical issue, because, you know, there's many, many smart people in Sacramento. There's many smart economists from both parties. It is, what is your willingness, what are you willing to do? I have the advantage that I'm going to Sacramento without any baggage. I haven't made any deals with anyone. I haven't sold out to any special interest groups. I'm not taking any money from anyone. Anyone that comes to me, I say, look, I will support your cause if it is for the better of the people, but not just for you and because you give me campaign contributions. I don't want to get into that. I want to go up there with no baggage, no strings attached. I will be totally independent, and therefore I will be able to make decisions that those guys right now up there in Sacramento will not be able to make, because they already have taken money. They already have sold out. They already have done the job that is enabled, that it makes it impossible for them to go and make decisions for the people. It is now an environment in Sacramento where the politicians, to a large extent, are representing the special interest rather than representing the people. And what I want to do is, and this is why I always say I will be a governor for the people, for a change. Because I want to represent the people, because the only thing that counts for me is the people. Yes. Yes.
If you have to wait for a state audit to identify one single program that needs to be cut, why should anybody vote for you as opposed to somebody who's in Sacramento who's already identifying programs that should be cut to bring the budget into balance?
But everyone knows, you see, the people, you can't put wool over their eyes. You can't put wool over people's eyes. The voters are so smart, it is incredible. And they know that the people that are up there right now have gotten us into the situation that we are in. Yes, they know everything. That's what I said earlier. They know the details. They know the budgets. They know where the skeletons are hidden and all those things. They know everything. But are they willing to make the changes, and are they willing to work on behalf of the people? And that has been the problem. And excuse me, let me finish my sentence, thank you. I will make sure that when I go to Sacramento, is to me the first thing that is always in my mind is the people. And when I talk about people, everyone. Democrats, Republicans, young or old, makes no difference to me. I will represent everybody, but not representing the special interests that are paying the politicians so they're going in their direction. That's what I want to stop.
Hispanic media, Arnold.
Say again. Yes. Yes.
Hispanic media over here.
Where are you? Oh, there you are. Okay. Sorry, you're right behind the light, so I can't see you. Yeah, no problem.
We all know we have a huge Hispanic population in the state. Huge one. The expert says if the Hispanic population is stopped for one single day, it will be a nightmare. How do you think to incorporate this population in your economy recovery plan that you have for this state?
Well, as you know, that I'm very much pro-immigrants. I mean, I myself came to this country as an immigrant 35 years ago. So there's no one that understands those problems better than I. I came over here and I worked very hard to get just a temporary working permit. Then I worked very hard for another year to get a permanent working permit and what they call a green card. And then it took me another 10 years to get the American citizenship. And I want to remind you, this is my 20-year anniversary in the coming months that I got my American citizenship. It was in 1983. So we'll be having a big, big celebration. But I know what immigrants go through. We all come here to this country because this is the land of opportunity. It's the place where dreams come true if we are given these opportunities. And so I'm all for that, and I will find a way of working with immigrants and working with everyone together. You know, we are a very multicultural society here. And as a matter of fact, when you go in Los Angeles, when I do my after-school programs, there's in Los Angeles like over 100 languages that you're dealing with here. So it's very complex, but it is all doable. That is the key thing. And as you know, that I'm very fond of the Latin community and have been doing movies down in Mexico. I've done 4 of my movies down in Mexico. I've traveled up and down the coast providing after-school programs. One of the first after-school programs that we had was with Danny Hernandez at the Hallenbeck Youth Center in East LA, where we built from just 500 kids, built it up to 20,000 kids, providing after-school programs, mostly Latinos actually, at the Hallenbeck Middle School and all those things. So I will do anything that I can to help people that come in this country with the language and with orders to get enough tutoring for them and to have them get jobs and orders. But that's why we have to create a business environment now so that everyone works. I like to get into the situation that there's no unemployment. It's disastrous the way it's right now, 6.6 or 6.7% unemployment. Yes, over here. Sorry, but I have to switch over here from the 10 o'clock to the 2 o'clock here. Say again? Yeah. It's the United Nations. No. No. Well, no. Let me tell you something, that the public doesn't care about figures. They've heard figures for the last 5 years. Figures and graphs and percentages and all those kind of things. What the people want to hear is, are you willing to make the changes? Are you willing and are you tough enough to go in there and provide leadership? That's what this is about. And I will be tough enough. I'm independent. I can go up there and I really can clean house. That's what I will do. You don't need to know the figures. Yes. And that's the auditing will take care of the rest. Yes. Go ahead. No, but excuse me just a second.
They may not care about figures, but they clearly do care about programs. Are you saying you go through the entire campaign without naming a single program that you would type?
No, but I'm saying that we have to look at exactly where excessive amounts of money are being spent. We have so little information. And it is not real true information, it's bad information. When you deal with, like I said earlier, from $5 billion to $9 billion, how can you run a business? If I want to take over a business, and I don't know if you've ever been into business or not, obviously not, you're a journalist, so I mean, it's not anything meant negative, but I'm just saying that when you run a business, like David Murdoch said earlier, the first thing you do is you have to find out in the details what is the problem in order to come up with the exact solution. So it would be wrong for me to go now and come up with all kinds of exact solutions to the problem, and I don't know what the problem really is. So that's why I say we have to get into that.
You know that you're going to have to make cuts because you're not going to raise taxes. So
I will make cuts. That's why we have to analyze.
do you identify any cuts before October 7th?
As time goes on, we maybe will be identifying it, but as I said, as soon as I go into office, I will hire an accounting firm, a team that goes in there and really looks at the whole problem and looks at the numbers in a very thorough way. That is the key thing. And as I also told you, that this problem was created over the last 5 years. So don't expect anyone to think that this can be solved within the next few weeks. And as I said earlier, anyone that tells the people of California that they can fix it and can come up with answers in the next few weeks is a typical politician.
Governor Davis claimed this is a power grab by the Republicans last night. How do you respond to that?
Say again?
Governor Davis last night in his speech to the California people said this is a power grab by the Republican Party. How do you respond to that?
I have said from day one in this campaign that I will concentrate on moving forward in a positive way. I will do everything I can to go and win on October 7th. To me, that is important, to have a positive campaign and put ideas forward that are positive, rather than going to worry about what someone else says. I will never attack. I will never talk about anyone. I will just think about our program and our mission. It is such a big job to not only campaign, but then to take over that office. Why would I worry about someone else? When I was competing in bodybuilding, I never worried about what someone else, how someone else trained, what someone else said and all this. I made sure that no stone was unturned. I trained 5-6 hours a day. I lifted 50 tons of weights a day. I did everything I could to win, and I won. Why would I worry about everyone else around me, what they say and what they do? It's not my style. Let everyone talk. Let everyone make the statements. Let everyone make their apologies where they were wrong the last 5 years and all those things. I only pay attention to one thing, and this is that I will be your next governor on October 7th. Yes, let's go over here, please.
You talked about jobs moving from California to Arizona and Nevada. But in fact, most of the jobs lost to Silicon Valley have left the United States. They've gone to India and other countries. So how do you deal with the global trends? I mean, you're not competing, California's not competing with Arizona and Nevada, it's competing with India. How do you
Well, first of all, let me tell you, the reason why the businesses are leaving is, and we have heard it for the last 2 hours when we had our council meeting, our recovery council meeting. For 2 hours, We talked about the various different things that are wounds that are self-inflicted. Wounds that are self-inflicted. Think about that. It's not like the national economy goes up and down as it always does. And because of that, we are down. We used to be ahead of the curve when you compare it to the national economy. Now we are below. Now they say that even if the rest of the country will recover, that we will lag behind. Self-inflicted wounds like workman's compensation. You know, when I opened it up just before and said, what are our problems? I mean, it was like 5, 6 people said workers' compensation. Well, that is a big problem when we have the hugest fees, then the energy costs that we have. I mean, those are just fees that no one can afford. And I, myself, I'm in a restaurant business. I know that you have a 10% margin on profits. So if someone squeezes you and all of a sudden raises taxes, or says that now your energy costs go up by 100%, or your workers' compensation goes up by 100%, like it has in the last 4 years, it's gone up by 100%. It's the highest cost in the nation. Those are the kind of things where people just look at it and say, as some members said in there, I say to they said, Arnold, I'm saying to myself, why I'm not moving out of this state with my business? That's the question that everyone is asking themselves. We are not competitive anymore. What we have to do is we have to control all that. We have to create a better business environment. Otherwise, people will be leaving not only for other states, like you say, to go to other countries. I mean, it's great for India. I'm happy for them, but I mean, it's bad for us. We want to stop that. We want to really let the businesses know in California that we want to have them come back. We have to want them stay here because that means jobs. And when you talk about jobs, that's what every Californian wants. I feel bad for anyone that is unemployed. It's unnecessary. It's self-inflicted wounds that we have here. The power crisis that we had. You know, it's like the energy, the costs went up, deals were made. Unnecessary amounts are being paid right now. We have to renegotiate those deals with the contractors. I mean, you know, we really are hurting ourselves, and that has to stop. Yes, please.
What's your point of view with regards to Proposition 54, where no racial data can be collected on
I'm looking at it right now because I'm getting from both sides the input. And, you know, my indication is not to change the way things are. But I want to hear again both sides, because there may be very good arguments that I'm not aware of. I want to really hear from everybody about this issue. Okay, and I will let you know. Before there is an election, there will be an answer for all of those things, so people really know where I stand on those things. Yes. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Immigration, there's a large illegal community here. You support Prop 187. How do you get this group to pay the fair share?
Well, I think this is something that we are looking into. I mean, you know, I was for Prop 187, and that is on a record, and but it's a federal issue. What we have to do is, what is important is that we have the federal government help California with the expenses that occur because of it. And I will negotiate immediately with the Bush administration, if I become governor, to have them take over some of the share of the burden. Okay? Yeah, last question. Last question right here, yes. Sure. Hi.
specifically about people who have gone on record as joining your campaign. What precise role is Ron Lowe going to have? And you touched on it briefly about CAA. You touched on it briefly, and are there other big Hollywood stars, friends of yours that will be joining you on the campaign?
Well, I have to tell you something that is really interesting, and it's a very good question, because, no, I'm telling you because, as you know, that this is a town where we have obviously more Democrats than Republicans. But it is extraordinary the amount of actors and actresses and producers and directors and studio executives that came forward and said, we want to help you, we want to have a fundraiser, Republicans and Democrats alike. So that has been the incredible thing, and the reason is because they know where my heart is. They know that I want to reach out to everybody. They know the work I've done with Special Olympics for the last 20 years, that I traveled around the world to create equality and respect for the people with mental retardation, that I went all the way to Africa and to China to open up those doors to get people out of those prisons and out of those institutions, people with mental retardation. They know where I stand with after-school programs and also with education, how much I love education, how much I love children and all this. So they know all those things. You know, I've gotten more awards in Hollywood here, humanitarian awards, than you can think of. So they support me and I feel good about it. Now, talking about Rob Lowe, obviously what you read in the paper is wrong. Rob Lowe is not a senior advisor, nor is he an advisor. You know, so that's, you know, but you know how it is in Hollywood with the publicity agents and all those things. We have done that for the last 25 years, so we know how that works. So the bottom line is that Rob Lowe is a very good friend, and he was the first one the day after I announced and called me and says, my wife and I want to support you. We want to get celebrities together. When you have fundraisers, we want to go there to those fundraisers and all those things. Any help that you need, I will be ready for you. That's what Rob Lowe's position is. And I find it very kind of him to offer his services, very kind of his wife. And I'm in heaven when I get offers like that. So anyway, thank you. Thank you very much to all of you. Remember now one thing. Let me just make, excuse me, because, you know, it was the last question, but let me just make, say something here. I will be out there many more times. I will be seeing all of you from now to October 7th, many more times. There will be many appearances, there will be many visits, there will be many fundraisers, speeches, even policy speeches where we will get, when it gets closer to October 7th, where we will talk about details. You will have all of that, so don't think that I'm going anywhere, okay? So you will have a chance to ask many more questions. Again, I want to stress, thank you all for coming. Because remember, I am a strong believer that if it was my bodybuilding career or if it is my acting career, I could not have done it without the press. You were always very helpful. That's true. Even though there were sometimes negative stories written and so, but you know, you can't put everyone in the same pot. But as a whole, I have been getting such great support from the press since I came to this country. And, you know, I don't expect you to go and say, Arnold, we're going to help you now with the campaign and all. That's not the point I'm making. I just want you to know, because my wife is a journalist. I want you to know how I know how tough it is to have your job. Thank you very much for being here. Until the next time. Until the next time. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Stay on the way.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you very much for this incredible turnout. I would have wished to have this kind of a turnout when I did Last Action Hero. But anyway, I want to thank, first of all, my co-chairs, Secretary Schultz and Warren Buffett, for not only being the co-chairs, but also for helping me assemble this great team of the best and the brightest economic leaders and business leaders of California. We just finished the meeting. When I came to California 35 years ago, this was a place of great dreams. This state said to the people everywhere, come here, work hard, play by the rules, and your dreams can come true. What has happened to California? What has happened to that feeling? What has happened to the optimism that this state once represented to the world? Now, I believe that we are in massive deficit and the massive debt that this governor has allowed California to incur. You know, Maria and I, we teach our kids the basic principles. We teach them, don't spend more money than you have. That's what I teach my 6-year-old. And I promise you, that is what I will teach Sacramento. We must have a constitutional spending cap. We must never again permit Sacramento to mortgage our children's future by unconstitutional deficit spending. We must immediately attack the operating deficit head on. Now, does this mean that we are going to make cuts? Yes. Does this mean education is on the table? No. Does this mean I'm willing to raise taxes? No. Additional taxes are the last burden that we need to put on the backs of the citizens and businesses of California. One message that became loud and clear at this last meeting we just had was that no one, not even the economic and academic leaders, could figure out and make heads or tails of the state's budget. We don't know what is being spent, and we don't know where. One thing I've learned in business, and that is that businesses cannot continue to suffer under skyrocketing workers' compensation costs. The day I'm sworn in, I will take action. I will call a special session of the legislature to enact reforms to correct a system that imposes unaffordable costs on our employers while denying decent benefits to our people that are injured. I will not sign a budget without workers' compensation reform. Our working men and women deserve better. And our economic recovery demands and depends on reform. The Economic Recovery Council and I discussed many other substantive issues that will be addressed in my administration. Litigation reform, regulatory reform, and the unemployment insurance fund crisis. And without needed energy reform, California will continue to suffer the highest commercial energy costs in the nation. These critical issues must be addressed to ensure the economic recovery that California so desperately needs. Needless to say, the elephant in the room when it comes to California's economy is the state's irresponsible operating hard that we can bring that optimism back. The people of this state are working hard. They're raising their families and they're paying their taxes. Our businesses are the most innovative on the face of this earth. We still have all the elements that made us great and prosperous. We have everything we need except leadership. In simple terms, this is the financial situation that we face. It's not that the people of California have been undertaxed. It is that the politicians have overspent. Sacramento has overspent, overtaxed, and overregulated our businesses. Our elected officials have failed the people. They have overburdened our businesses, which are downsizing and leaving, and the jobs are leaving with them. We want those jobs that are going to Nevada and Arizona and Texas and elsewhere to come back. We want those jobs back. I have just met with my Economic Recovery Council to address the economic environment of California. California's economy is critical to the national economy. We must fix California's economic environment not only for ourselves, but for the rest of the nation. Can't make sound decisions based on faulty information. Upon becoming governor, I will immediately appoint an outside auditing group, free of political influence, to examine the books and find out how bad the situation really is. This will be a 60-day review that will result in immediate steps to address the operating deficit. The second part of the problem is that the next governor will inherit what experts think is between $12 and $20 billion. This is a debt separate and apart from the operating deficit. California would not be an attractive place to do business. It would not be attractive to business in the financial community as long as our credit rating is the worst in the nation. I have asked the Hoover Institute's John Cogan, a member of my council, to lead the working group charged with restructuring this inherited debt. Now, before the carping begins about the need for the 25-point plan on each one of those items,